Hello, welcome to Tower for Our Times and a Tower for Our Times. That's an interesting slip. Tarot for Our Times. Yes. If you did so, today is good. The big time death card for entertainment purposes only. And if you've looked at how I've altered these cards on the thumbnails, what I did with the moon card was I had two towers for the pillars at the end of the road. With this, I just very recently added two towers for the end of this road here, because I was listening. I think it was last week. I was listening to Lelina Rodriguez, and she was saying that the thing about the tower is that it very dramatically clears away the old and makes way for the new. And we've been living through very dramatic times. So to think that a change isn't going to come without some drama of the tower is foolish. And I know it's been a little while since I've been up, and I've been watching all this stuff break, and I realized that whatever I have to say about the Middle East, all these things, the blockade, Epstein, everything is something that everybody's saying. All the really good readers online are saying. So I was just sort of waiting for something to come in. And I found that maybe instead of getting inspiration from them, I've been watching, the other YouTube things. And I can't remember. I think I had watched a couple of videos. And the whole thing was, I don't wish Donald Trump to die. Now, I will say that what I have to say about this is his health is looking really bad. And then there's the whole drama around his going to get his annual checkup, which with every other president, we've really never given it another thought. So, with the death card, it's not only is he going to be passing away, and I strongly feel that if he does, it'll be from illness and not an assassin's bullet. And the reason that they are saying, a couple of videos like why you don't want to wish him dead, is because, first of all, the one guy I remember, I can't remember who it was saying, we don't want another Charlie Kirk. You don't need a martyr. So that's very important. But he seemed to focus on that. But I also heard somebody else saying that let MAGA get so bad it destroys itself and they'll have no one, which sounds good in theory. But how much more destruction are we going to have to suffer through? So I did have a lot of ideas. So I did have to make some notes. And so what I want to do first of all is I made a note about the secondary card. I want to draw the secondary card. So the thing is, while there is some merit, it's like when he goes, and let's not even say, maybe I've always felt that there's a possibility of the big, and I thought this from his first term. I always had this hit about he would be offered the sweetest deal in the world of escaping criminal consequences, the whole thing, maybe pay some fines, if he would leave the office and never, ever, ever, not even for dog catcher, never run for another political office and just, ride off into the sunset. So I do feel as though there is that possibility regardless of his health. So I want to pull a secondary card. So, well, these people made some good arguments. I said in the comments to one of them, I was saying that's all well and good. I said, but he's really not looking well. And we actually, no matter how you feel about it, we really do have to consider the possibility that he may not have much longer. So in that sense, while you think this, that, and the other thing, you need to be prepared for it. You need to be prepared for advance. You need to be prepared for what are you going to do politically, but also what are you going to do in your personal life. It's like, I guess and it's a Ken Epstein thing. The analogy I can make is a woman gets raped, and they positively, through DNA, irrefutable stuff, they really they've got the guy nailed. He gets set up for 20 years or whatever, and they think, oh, it's all over, but it isn't. She's got major PTSD to deal with, all kinds of things that her life has been turned upside down. So I feel as though no matter how this ends, whether we're talking about the death of the regime, the death of him going away, or the end of the whole MAGA movement, which would mean if he goes away in whatever way he goes away, that the MAGA movement will be seriously weakened. So we need to deal with the post ramifications of all of that, and it's not going to be happy days. We learned that the last time. It's not. Go and celebrate if you need to celebrate for whatever. I mean, I'm not going to be one of these psychics that's going to say if you pop the bottle of champagne, then shame on you, like some of the others do. But people are going to do what they need to do. And if you need to celebrate, but cut it short. Blow off a little steam and then cut it short. So our secondary card today is, cannot make this up. Our other card, and you saw me, I was shuffling away there as I was talking. We have the moon in reverse, which is talking about what's running this. And this is interesting because I was just about to go into that. That was a last check. And this is perfect. Everybody from IHIP to Tabitha are all talking about the unhinged postings that he made at about 4 o'clock in the morning. And Obama, the 2020, Obama needs to get arrested. Everybody is talking about that. And to me, it's the moon in reverse. That is like totally unhinged. He cannot control himself whatsoever. So this really comes down to what they're all saying is this is unsustainable. This is absolutely if the war in Iran, and I'm shuddered to think of what gas is going to be when I go out, because I haven't been out for a couple of days yet. So it is the afternoon of May 11th, and I'm going to be posting this. This will go up in the evening. So we've got, I don't need to go through this. The moon in reverse is like total psycho land. It's lunacy. It's intense. Okay, so we've got that. And then because I know I'll forget to do it at the end, what I want to do is pull an oracle card. I think this is going to be the card, one of the coping cards for us to do. So we have here Sanctuary. So I would say I'm not saying that you should go hide under the covers, but what I'm saying is that we all need to get a little bit of peace in our lives, find a little sanctuary, do some meditation, all this sort of thing. So basically, in wrapping this up about what I've seen on the internet about why you want them to hang in there long enough to really screw up. So, and the PTSD and how do you deal with it afterwards. I think that's what the reading's going to be about, is how do we deal with it afterwards. So, the way I'm going to do this a little bit differently is I'm going to start out with the Before Tarot. I'm going to draw a card from that first. Leading into this would be, we have the King of Pentacles. Yep, he's getting ready to start his, if he's upright, he's getting ready to start his day, get the cash out, this and that. But in reverse, it's always the corrupt king, the crooked king. So he's getting ready to figure out how he could steal more money and get that into his hand. He doesn't quite, he's reaching for that pentacle. Oh yeah, he's reaching, there. Yep. The pentacle is like, how can I get, this is getting ready to get my ill-gotten gains, which is what we are living with. And also the money that has gone into his pocket is the money that's being taken out of ours. And that is about financing. Now the taxpayers are going to finance the ballroom. So that's going to be at the beginning. And then to wrap it up, when we do the conclusion, we've got the After Tarot, which I will just show you now when I do the conclusion reading. So here we go. We have here the Six of Cups. And these are the little kids running away. I would say this looks like leaving the past behind, getting rid of the past. So we'll see how that adds up when we do. I'll shuffle these back in because that's going to be the conclusion reading. So what I'm going to do is now we'll do the regular thing. Okay. Yep. So I want to focus on our coping with it and healing from all of this, and knowing that it probably isn't over. But I know that Vance is vastly unpopular, and I just don't think he's in the position. He doesn't have the power. I could be wrong. I don't feel like he has the power to do that much wrong. He's going to be the biggest lame duck president we ever have, if in fact they don't find a way of getting rid of him and the whole, but who knows. Okay, so where we're at now. Oh, interesting. We have the Six of Cups. So this is about, I would say that a coping mechanism that we have, and you see it on Facebook all the time. It's about, and well, I'm as guilty of it as, do you remember drinking out of hoses and running to the park and on your bicycles and no cell phones, yada, yada, yada. But it's, it's the view that we have, how much better things were before all of this, but it's just an illusion. Okay. The energy we have crossing, that is, as I say, I cannot make this stuff up. The Sun in reverse, which is, no, that's not really the real story that we, this is about, we're hiding all the downsides about it, is that, safety-wise, kids without cell phones in this world today, there needs to be some kind of a tracking device, or they need a way to call their parents, the whole thing. So it wasn't all that hunky-dory. So this is where we're at now. And the whole thing is that we've had corruption before. We've had Watergate. So instead of going back to this overly sentimentalized past, maybe we need to go back to the less pleasant history and look at that. Okay. Going beneath that is, the Ace of Cups, very, very emotional. I would say that if people find comfort in this, I think that maybe you need to a little bit, but don't get too lost in it. I think that may be part of the problem that we've had. Then we have, the devil. So we have the devil here with our figures in their little bathing suits because of YouTube. So we have the devil here. And this is being in the past when somebody feeds you this drivel, like a lot of what MAGA has done. Weren't things great when everything was segregated, blah, blah, blah. So people get really tied to this toxic view. Yes, and women were in the house popping diet pills and pretending they were so happy being housewives and all this stuff. Okay, thinking of the 50s. Then Queen of Cups. We are going to continue to be, damaged emotionally, and, we monkey see, monkey do. Maybe it's time to look at ourselves in the way we gaslight, like who become emotionally, fragile and play the victim and all kinds of things. And also it's putting a guilt trip. She's a mother card, so she's putting the guilt trip on the kids. So I think what this is saying underneath all of this is to be careful and look at your own behavior to make sure that you're not doing that stuff that you see these people in government doing, like, the white male kind of thing that translated, it becomes like a whiny, negative female kind of an energy thing. So in opposition to this, we have the Knight of Cups. Yeah, with this is interesting. We are the Nine of Cups, who would be the smug merchant, but it's in reverse, saying we have got to really get used to being thrown out of our comfort, positions, comfort zones. And they're saying that this will be challenging and probably emotional. There will be some emotional upheaval with this. So I'm going to see what is on the conscious level with this as we really get ready for what is going to come next, because as I and my colleagues have been saying, he's not going to last the 4 years. And even the non-psychics, who I think may be more intuitive than some of the others I've seen, they're saying they don't see him in for 4 years. Okay, so we have, on the conscious level, we are seeing the dictator, finally seeing the dictator. So going back to, you can look, it kind of has a Roman Empire look to it. You can kind of go back and look at, in history, like what we learned. We actually learned something from history from the First to the Second World War, which is that when the emperor goes, okay, it's time to go and celebrate in the street. I always think of Paris and champagnes popping and, French women kissing American soldiers and all this kind of stuff. But in the occupation with the Marshall Plan and everything, with Germany, is to not make the mistake that they did after the First World War, which was what kind of planted the seeds for fascism, and the Second World War the whole thing is to, you may not take the MAGAs into your bosom, but what you don't want to do is punish them either. You can be neutral to them. And in fact, they did drive a hard line in denazifying everything, but they didn't punish or humiliate people. They have to, Patton took them to the camps and said, I think it was Bergen-Belsen or Dachau, I can't remember which one. I think it was Bergen. And he's saying, this is what happened. This is what, this is what happened. But he wasn't going to take them back to starve either. It was like, you got to see what happened, and then you've got to rebuild from that. So we do need to take, once these tyrants go, and it's not only Trump, but I think Hungary was a clear picture of this, that it's, Netanyahu, Putin, all of these awful people in one way or another. I can't tell you a time, but I would say I think the dominoes are starting to fall. I definitely do. So on the subconscious level, we have the Three of Cups. It's like this goes down to all these people online. So many, I can't even tell you who they are individually. So many people online and, in person saying, we've got the champagne on ice. So what this tells me on a subconscious level is that people really need something to celebrate. They really, they say, we want things to change because we want to celebrate and go out, but they're not maybe thinking of that, they're consciously so much, but it's like really, and there's a lot of female energy. What this is saying, so consciously, so we don't want women to lose their rights. So there's a whole lot going on here. So in the in the past, we have here again the Queen of Swords. She's getting, oh, I see a cute little cherub. Yeah, cute little, I guess she's getting her message from the angels before she picks up the sword of truth. But this is a female energy. I would say in the before that, white, with that whole white women's vote of voting for him, and I've said before that it was kind of to justify their own abusive relationships, and then that, and then lying about it and everything. And it's interesting because it is the crown. The angel's getting ready to crown them, but I think that the crown is being taken away from them. So it's like, you better stop and think before you speak, and you do need to rethink, what you have done, because that was a big constituency that was, and I would have to say white Christian, I may put that in quote, women, because apparently and I don't know how white they consider Jewish women, because, well, we come in all different cultures and everything, but the Jewish vote, I think, was like about 80% for Harris. So we don't fall in that category. Okay, so coming up in the present, we have the Knight of Swords. We really, and I think right now we are starting to see that absolute bald-faced lying that's being done. It's finally, I think that's the first thing as far as our own growth goes, and it's like seeing the lies in your candidates, like Fetterman, and seeing the lies of people in your life. I would say that right now, I suspect that people in their own personal lives right now, if they're really aware, gaining some self-awareness, will not get into that relationship because they see the guy's lying and the guy or the woman is lying through their teeth, but also they're seeing it in their politicians, they're seeing it. And this is lying on a kind of like on a young person, adolescent level, and it's pretty obvious. And it's also seeing people that make the big promises and they're not going to go through with it. So we got that. So in the future, with the after tarot, we have, this isn't, the fight is over because, as you know, in the other decks, there's a whole bunch of young people beating the shit out of each other, basically, with these wands. So the fight is over, and it's like, what have we gained? I'm seeing this as kind of a disillusioned MAGA who is kind of hit bottom with being in a cult and everything. And so, I would say that, you can even see it in his face, like how pointless was all of this. And people have just laid down their little arms and saying, we're not doing it anymore. What this is telling me is that there could be some second thoughts about especially with the Iran thing, about us getting into wars in the future, and possibly, to be realistic. And I've been once again watching the FAFO with all these people crying on TikTok about, oh, my family won't talk to me because I voted for Trump. Thing is that, and again, it kind of goes back to this. The thing is that maybe people have to face, because look, he's a solitary figure, that it's going to take a while before the friends and family can trust them again. And it's about it's perfectly okay to not reunite with these people, but at the same time, don't mistreat them. That's the whole thing. That if they're going to do anything to earn their trust back into friends and family, we cannot be mistreating them, or else it's the World War I whole thing, where you get people angry and that they're going to go all Nick Fuentes fascist and all this kind of stuff. Okay. So in the hopes and the fears, we have the Hierophant. So the hopes is that there will be a big reform in our big institutions. The fear is, are they so damaged that it's going to take a while to repair? But the fear is that, are they going to be so damaged we can't repair them? So let's see. In this, usually, oh yeah, you see their little shadowy fear. Usually in this deck, you have the students, the devoted students. They're kind of in the shadow. So he's got to, they have to win us back now too. They have to win us back. So here we've got the Hierophant, and it's about teaching the lessons of what we've learned, and perhaps undoing some of the damage that the Supreme Court has done, and maybe stripping away some of these real authoritarian powers given to the executive branch. So, and I like the light coming through the window, because maybe it's the hope is that they have seen the light and known what the founding fathers could not. They didn't see it. They didn't see a Trump coming, that's for sure. But they did at least put some things in place where some of his powers could be checked if we ever get a decent Supreme Court. And then maybe there is the hope that if we are able to sweep the elections, that perhaps some of them could be removed. And if they are impeached and not removed, that could be a big warning. I hope, keeping my fingers crossed. Okay, so we're going to, how are we going to see ourselves when the worst of this is over, when he's gone one way or another? So we have here, very interesting. This is, I think the whole thing is that this is a very hopeful card, is that people, like-minded people, will be getting together and maybe listening to a higher source, whether you want to call it the universe or your spirituality or whatever you want to call it. This is Gabriel giving the musical message through his horn. And that is kind of like rising up from the dead that we've been in for, 10 years. Because in the Biden years, there was always the shadow of MAGA there. And, with them taking over Congress and the court and everything. So the whole thing is a like-minded people rising up, that maybe we are seeing that there is, at least among the progressive group, maybe we do have our differences, but they're not deal breakers. Like some people love Hassan Piker. I can't stand him, but it's not a deal breaker to me. I just won't discuss it with certain people. Okay. So it is getting rising to a new consciousness and awareness. But I think that maybe that the process, so that's a good way for us to see ourselves. So that's a goal. How others see us in this journey afterwards is the Knight of Swords in reverse. Interesting. He's come up before. So the Knight, here he is. Knight of Swords in reverse is like, they're not going to trust us. They are not going to be trusting. I wouldn't say us per se, those of us that were not on board for this, but I would say that they're going to consider us guilty until proven otherwise, as far as telling the truth and that certain thing. So it's going to take a lot of work for them to get the trust back to us again. So now we're going to go to the conclusion of this reading, and we are starting off with the running away from the past. But they're running away. See all these flowers here? They're running away from the idealized, what actually really didn't truly exist. There's some things about it that are nice, but some people treat it like it's absolute utopia. So we're going to use this deck here. Okay, so I've been shuffling, but I'll shuffle some more. So this is kind of our focal card. I think what it is getting real, and it's see, they're going home to. I think they're going home to their mother. They're going home to the older and the wiser person. Who's going to tell them. It was nice, but it wasn't. It's not like back in my day. No, it was nice, but it wasn't everything that they crack it up to be, especially the entertainment business. Okay, so let's see. So in conclusion about this, we have here the Empress. Now, it's really interesting because that's usually my card for Russia, but I would say putting it on the more personal level is taking a look and seeing the abundance, the fertility, and the spirituality that we have in a very female energy. Because I keep saying, and so do my colleagues, that female energy is really, really where it's at with this. I kind of like the divine feminine and it's interesting because they are, you have to really squint your eyes to see, but they really are. If I get this really close, they really are. Look at that. They're running back. See that lady in the red shawl? They're running back to their mother, not their father, but their mother. So very interesting the female dynamic. With compassion, but she's nobody's fool either. She didn't get to be empress, by letting people walk all over her either. So the energy is the Page of Pentacles. So that, I think that what this is talking about is a renewal of how we see the material world. And the one thing is getting over our worship of celebrities and billionaires. and seeing that they're really messed up people. I mean, they really, truly are messed up people. And that it's been the billionaires that have been messing up the world. So I'm not talking about torches and pitchforks, but like putting it an importance on what little we have, how we can make it grow to live more comfortably, and to know that we don't want to be like Jeff Bezos and that puffed up, whatever that thing is, bicycle pump boob, whatever that is that he married. That the fact that they keep, well, he's just focusing on what do I have, how do I make it grow, instead of how can I exploit my workers, treat them like shit, and get more money than I will or the next 5 generations could ever even hope to use. Okay. So as we move along here is kind of in the past of this is that this really has made us sick as a society. It's like physically sick, but I would also say I'm feeling as though this could also, this applies to Trump too, because this is the person that's gone against the doctor's orders saying you need to get rest, you need to get less stress, you need to, you watch your diet. And so we're seeing this as an example. He's been a great teacher of how we shouldn't be. I mean, aside his whole psychotic stuff and everything, health-wise and mentally and physically, I'll bet you anything. I've been saying this since I don't know how long. His doctors have said, being president again is not going, even running again is not going to be so great for your health. But he didn't listen. So that's why we have the 4 of Swords in advance. Then we have here, this is the frustration of, he's gotten away with so much. Isn't anybody ever going to be held accountable? Justice in reverse is saying yes, but not yet. So the universe is going to let him live, stay in, or whatever it is, until they feel as though if it takes another couple months or another year for the weight of the consequences to come down on him, that's what it's going to be. So I know it's frustrating, but the universe has been hard at work with this. Okay. Then we have the 3 of Swords. It's also, I would say, owning our own wounds, because I know that everybody has been affected by this. And it's also, there's also hope, knowing you're going to get through the storm, that we have been definitely screwed over, whether it's, being able to afford to put some gas in your car, whatever it is, but to know that we are going to get through this. The interesting being with the Justice in reverse next to it. Then we have here, it's still a lot of worry and insomnia, which is saying that we really need to start to deal with this, because I will say that even when he's gone, the rest of this is going to hang on to us. So we really have to dig deeper and say, what are the other things that are creating anxiety in our lives? This has just brought it to the surface, but in a way, what this is telling me is that with this being such a larger than life and touching our personal lives in so many ways, that we may have been sweeping some other stuff under the rug that we were working on. So maybe this is time to look at this. Then we have, again, the Queen of Cups in reverse. I would say this is the negative feminine energy. We need to be on the lookout. And I know that there are people that still may be tolerating the bigoted MAGA mentality stuff, that they do need to start cutting people from their lives, which is a very important part of the Death card. So then we have, I want to see, leading up to this 6 of Cups deal here, we have finding a new leader and learning from the Emperor reversed to look for, you need someone's tough, but you need someone that does not get into a fight unless provoked. And then he becomes a warrior. So this is the model for what we want. This is a lot of Aries energy. Very good leader. We've learned what we don't want. And it's not only in our lives, but when you get a job or if you're going to be a leader yourself, to learn from this. And this is how we heal. So one more leading up to this is there's going to be a lot going on. But if you do the work on yourself and at the same time in the community, a lot of things are going to start to happen. This is in the future. And that these things, after all of this, that these things will hit the mark. But it's, again, we are a big believer in a personal choice. So then we have moved our way up to getting out of the past. Oh, that's a movie that I'm going to be watching in a while. Great film noir. Out of the past, we get out of the past of fantasy land, and we go to the positive feminine energy, which is interesting because I think this with the Emperor, you can have, sometimes this has come up as females. It's having the positive, assertive male energy and not the, oh, I'm going to go to war so they can, so we can get our attention taken away from Epstein. Okay? I mean, that's what that's all about. Whether you like it or not, that's what it's all about. Okay, so I would say that this is an opportunity where we do a lot of work on ourselves in whatever way that you choose. But, and to know that there's no going back. There absolutely is no going back to a past that never really existed. So as far as that, Norman Rockwell, and actually if you take a deeper look into his work, it wasn't all, there was some negativity, little subtle things he threw into his, but it isn't that, and it isn't 1950s and 60s sitcoms. So it really is about getting real so that this doesn't happen again. So at any rate, hopefully that this does give me hope that I can't say when it's going to be, when he's going to croak, or if he is or if he isn't. One way or another, he will be gone, but we really, really have to be ready for that. And I think that the one thing is that the politicians realize that they have to realize all of this stuff, all these things, and we're all talking about it on YouTube and other platforms. And it's about not going back and making the same mistake. So that's where the World War I, the World War II, and you can put it in your personal life too. So that's a very big, because that we've been talking a lot about that and how that got started. So a lot of this is about not going back to make the past mistakes, because if you go back here and you live back here, you're going to make the past mistakes. So at any rate, that's all for me. So I'll see you soon. Bye.